What is up everyone, welcome back to Mainly Movies, the channel where we talk about, well, mainly movies. So welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be reviewing the latest film by directors Danny and Michael Phillippou, Bring Her Back. After a family tragedy, both Andy and Piper move in with their new foster mother. They soon realize something isn't right when they witness strange occurrences due to their new mother's dark rituals. So I was a fan of Danny and Michael's last film, Talk to Me. It was quite a fun, unique, and quite disturbing idea. So of course I was quite excited for their new film. Now just a fun fact, I think I might have mentioned this before on the channel, but I did get a chance to meet them a few years ago, just before Talk to Me came out. So I attended the same film school that they did, and they came to the film school and just did a little bit of a talk, and we got to meet them and just ask them some questions about their filmmaking journey. And they're two really nice and very just energetic and passionate guys. So like I said, I was quite excited to see what they have in store for this new film. And I can safely say Bring Her Back is just as crazy, just as wild as their previous film Talk to Me. First of all, Sally Hawkins gives such a just insane performance. She kind of reminds me a little bit of Kathy Bates from Misery. Just this woman that's so inviting and nice one minute, but then the next minute she's very manipulative and quite evil in certain scenes. And she portrays both those personalities just very well. It's always wonderful to see her in things, and I'm always just more and more amazed by the range she has and just some of the roles that she ends up taking. And she also nailed that accent. I've met a lot of ladies in Australia from around that age, and she acts and talks exactly like how they do. So she would have obviously had to spend some time here to pick up that kind of Australian personality. Also, one thing I really liked was the use of like old analog VHS scans of like demonic dark ritual footage. It's truly disturbing, and like a lot of movies just don't utilize that nowadays. Everything has to be kind of like digital or some sort of like computer screen. But showing that old school technology, I don't know, something about it just feels a lot more disturbing and gritty. But the performances by the main two kids were good for the most part. Visually, I feel like this movie is just a little bit more striking than Talk to Me. Not that that movie had any problems with its visual style, but this film kind of captures the tone a lot more. Because one thing I'll say about this movie is it's a lot more patient than Talk to Me. I always saw Talk to Me as this kind of like thrilling, unique idea, quite disturbing, quite scary, but at its core it's quite a fun and just like unique film with a premise that kind of holds the movie together. Whereas this film, the premise isn't quite so unique, it's the execution that makes this film stand out. It really drags out the tension in a lot of scenes, and I can really appreciate that. It also sets up a lot of things and has wonderful payoffs, and I always love when horror movies do that, whether that's visually and they show something and then later on the character uses it, or little character moments. Like for example, in the movie, the two kids have a code word whenever they're feeling sad or anxious, and that comes back later in the film, and I just love when filmmakers take the time to do things like that. It feels rewarding and it pays off. However, because this film doesn't have, you know, a premise at its core like Talk to Me, and it's kind of more of a character-driven film, some of the stuff in the middle of the film kind of drags out a little bit, whereas Talk to Me felt very punchy and had a very good pacing, whereas this film kind of takes its time a little bit more, and in the middle of the movie you could really feel that. Also, I kind of found that with Danny and Michael, they love to make very excessive violent things and have these very shocking moments. In Talk to Me, I felt like it worked. In this movie, it works for the most part, but there are some scenes where I feel like tonally it kind of takes away from that kind of patient tension building that the movie does a very good job at. But then they have these crazy shocking moments that I feel like almost took me out of it. It didn't, but there was moments where I kind of feel like this is a little bit too extreme for how this movie's been set up. But for the most part, there are some crazy, awesome, very gnarly sequences in this movie. A lot of injuries and a lot of disgusting practical effects, which again, practical effects, always great when people use them, and Danny and Michael are the king of creating just disgusting, over-the-top practical effects. So I got to give them a lot of credit for that. But yeah, the film has a lot of those sequences and they are quite fun for the most part. But overall, I really enjoyed Bring Her Back. I know when I got the chance to meet them, they were talking about the Street Fighter movie, and I don't think that's going ahead anymore, which would have been exciting to see them do something like that. But these more smaller horror films that they're doing are working and are very effective. They're very good at writing characters and writing setups and and payoffs. So I hope they continue doing that for a little bit longer, but I would also love to see them tackle another genre like action. But yeah, overall, I did really enjoy Bring Her Back. I highly recommend seeing it. I don't think it's out just yet. I did get to see it at an advanced screening, but I recommend going out to see this film because it's quite a wild ride, quite fun, it's thrilling. Sally Hawkins gives a great performance. Visually, it's disturbing. It's great at building suspense. I was actually disturbed by a film, which I don't really get disturbed by horror movies much anymore. But this movie was actually quite shocking and disturbing in moments. So I recommend not missing out on this one. Anyway, I'm going to give my rating of the film. I'm giving Bring Her Back a 4-star. Yes, I think it's one of the better horror movies that I've seen this year. I did see Companion, and that was very good, if you can call that a horror movie. I don't find it scary, but I found it very entertaining and well made. But Bring Her Back is definitely in the top 3 so far of best horror movies this year. So please go to the movies and watch Bring Her Back. You will not regret it. It's not for the faint of heart, because there are some pretty crazy stuff in this movie, but I highly recommend it. So anyway, thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. So stay tuned. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.